The market is getting spooked. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are fighting, they're colliding, their whole partnership is falling apart. Thus, Tesla stock is down, but in general, traditional finance and now also crypto is crashing. Now, there is one asset that's crashing the most, and that's Zebec network. Now, does it make sense to buy the dip? Let's have a look at some data most people are not considering. So first, let's make a damage report. The worst performing category within all of crypto has been RWA. That's true for the last 24 hours. It's also true for the last week. Within the RWA space, Zebec network is the worst performer. And that's all happening while in the last month, it was one of the top performers. So what's going on? Now, this is not the first video on Zebec on this channel. I've published 3 videos before, and it's interesting how the attention is developing over time. The first video outperformed the average video, and that was by 73%. The second video again outperformed by 68%. But the recent video, it underperformed. So the attention on the token went down. And so it's not necessarily surprising that the price is also coming down. But how much lower can we go? And why did we see this massive run up and subsequent decline? Let's have a look. What we see over here is the trading volume over time, split up by different wallet cohorts. And for the last 2 weeks, we have seen massive activity in Zebec. However, that activity might now start to decline. Have a look at the number of first-time traders versus recurring traders over time. This is now for the last month. We tended to see more and more new first-time traders. That peaked on the 29th of May, which by the way was 1 day before the price itself peaked. And since then, there aren't that many new people getting in anymore. So the YouTube attention statistics very much align with the on-chain numbers. As there's more attention on a token, price tends to go up. As attention dies down and goes to another topic, the price tends to decline. Now, there are people in the market that made money with this pump and dump, and that was mainly the whales. The whales, they sold. What we're seeing on the left is the number of retail wallets. So wallets that have at least 200,000 Zebec tokens. That's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. There was very quick growth, and that tended to now slow down in the last 2 days. Medium-sized retail, so the wallets with $10,000 worth of the token, also stopped accumulating. But the whales, they already actively sold since the 20th of May. So they are taking profit. They are making the money. The project started out with 90% of all of the token supply being held by whales. This has now shrunk. There's still 83% in the hands of the whales, so the wallets that have at least $100,000 worth of the token. But relatively speaking, they tended to offload to the comparatively smaller wallets. It's interesting to see where now the price discovery happens, because actually there is very little trading volume on chain. We see all of the activity happening on the centralized exchanges. So there is a case to be made that potentially there is some price manipulation happening as well. Have a look at dexscreener.com and the 24-hour trading volume of the Zebec token. It's pretty much non-existent. All trading happens on centralized exchanges, and that's led by Gate.io on the spot market with 12 million in the last 24 hours. But really, the price discovery happens on the perpetual futures, and that's led by Bybit with 22 million of trading volume. People that deal with perpetual futures tend to have more skill than the average buyer on the spot market, because it's 100% a player versus player game. There's a lot of leverage involved as well. And the vast majority of those perpetual futures traders tended to bet on falling prices most of the time. The shorts had to pay the longs in order to bet on falling prices of Zebec. And the reason for this is likely tokenomics, because the number of Zebec tokens grew very quickly recently. If the supply grows faster than the demand, of course, the relative performance should be negative. That's likely why we saw those funding rates. But it seems like now, recently, the market gets a bit more in balance again. What seems to have been a short squeeze in the last few days, so potential manipulation by the market makers to liquidate all of those shorts, that might now have come to an end, at least temporarily. The price is massively influenced by how many bets there are on the token. So this is the open interest in green, and the spot price follows that open interest. As there's more and more bets on the price, spot goes up. As there is less interest in speculating with Zebec, the spot price goes down. And so most liquidations happened with the short squeeze, right? The shorts got liquidated. Now as the price is coming down, the longs are not getting liquidated. Again, because most perpetual futures traders bet on falling prices. Really, at some point, we are likely going to see a real deflation of Zebec. This might have been just the start. This here is Zebec relative to Solana over the long term on a logarithmic scale. Here's the same thing on a linear scale. I think it's very likely that we're going to see further downward pressure in the future. But again, this is a highly manipulated token. This could happen tomorrow. It could also happen just a few months from now. The more popular shorting Zebec is, the more likely the price is going up. If betting on falling prices of Zebec becomes less popular, that's then when the market makers can safely unload all of that supply. Now, fundamentally, the problem is that returns are very much concentrated in a few assets. Most assets tend to go down, and there are a few altcoins that make the multiple X return. And the problem is those assets change over time. What worked well yesterday might not work tomorrow. And so it's always a game against the odds. And so we can't really deploy a lot of capital in those trades. If the likelihood of losing is very high, it means we can't deploy too much in the position. It also means we can't necessarily diversify, because if we now own 10 or 20 tokens, most of those tokens are losing. And if then the few outliers make up for all the losses is a completely different question. It's very unclear. Now, there is a way to make money a bit more consistently, and that's actually trading the larger tokens. The issue with the larger tokens, though, is that they move very much in tandem with the overall market. As in, when Bitcoin goes up, then Solana tends to go up as well, Ethereum tends to go up as well. But there are movements within crypto where sometimes a particular asset class is more preferred than another one. And we can play on that relative valuation. We can play on attention moving from A to B within crypto without having to try to find the few winners. For example, have a look at this. This is the Solana dominance. So how much of all of crypto is currently in SOL? And there seems to be somewhat of an invisible ceiling between 3 to 4%. This is where Solana historically had been very expensive. Or have a look at this. This is the Ethereum dominance. It tends to be very cheap when only 7% of all of cryptocurrency's market cap is in ETH. It tends to be expensive when it's around 20 or 21%. And so we can benefit from this independent of where the US dollar valuations go. So if Bitcoin is going up or down does not interest us. The only thing that interests us is whether or not Ethereum will perform better than Solana or Solana will perform better than Ethereum, just relatively speaking. So I saw that set up when Ethereum was extremely cheap in the middle of April. We got very close to the historical low that was formed in September of 2019. And so have a look at this. This is Solana relative to Ethereum. And when ETH hit that low point, I shorted Solana relative to ETH. So I was not interested at all in the Solana US dollar price or in the Ethereum US dollar price. I was only interested in the relative valuation. I saw we are high on the trading range and I bet on that range coming down. So here's that post. It's from April 13th. I'm opening a relative valuation short of SOL to Ethereum using Venus Finance. More information will be provided in a few hours in today's premium update video. So I publish premium updates every 3 to 4 days. And then on May 20th, I closed the position. And of course, other members made money with this as well. But I want to share something here. This is when the position was opened. Here is when the position was closed. And I want you to look at the Solana value. Again, we bet on Solana doing worse than Ethereum. Solana itself actually went up during the time. It appreciated by 25%. But Ethereum appreciated more than that. It went up by more than 50%. And so we completely canceled out the macro. We are not interested at all whether or not everything is going up or down on a given day. We made money just on the relative valuation. So within those few weeks, we went from 43K to almost 60K. Yes, I know these kind of strategies might seem a bit complex, and why don't we just buy an altcoin and make it 10x? But again, it's all about risk-adjusted returns. If we want to bet significant capital, tens of thousands of dollars, or let's say relative to your net worth, high percentages. If we don't just want to play with play money, but we actually want to make real gains, we need to use strategies that don't have an 80 or 90% chance of failure. I see people making these mistakes all the time. I even see people making mistakes with their risk off position. So let's say they don't want to be exposed to crypto. They just want to be in stable coins. Let those stable coins just stay laying in the wallet. But there are opportunities to make very nice constant returns even with stable coins. So this is 16% APR. This can be achieved on Hyperliquid without a single trade. This is all just automated arbitrage by the market maker. But of course, I've also got my risk on part of the portfolio. And here's something other people don't show. Most people just show individual trades and say, hey, this is how we always make money. Very few people are actually willing to share the overall portfolio performance. Now, I started trading on Hyperliquid on April 22nd, and here is my P&L over time. And since I'm sharing all of my trades, the members can just copy me. And this is actually very nice feedback. The same kind of portfolio development chart. This chart tells a story, first trying it without any support, and then afterwards, where this green arrow is shown, exclusively following Gerhard's trade and slowly digging out of the hole. If you've got the right risk management in place, there's actually a lot of money to be made in this market still. But actually, I don't want that everybody is just copy trading me. The community is about elevating our skills. It's about learning as much as possible, helping each other, finding market opportunities, and then of course capitalizing on those opportunities. So I've actually made more than 100 tutorial videos just on various topics within crypto, risk management, portfolio valuation, blockchain analysis. Feel free to binge watch this. It's actually nice to get those DMs. Hey Gerhard, I just wanted to thanks a lot for everything you've done. Since I've only been listening to you, I've been consistently profitable now. I just entered your, I've blacked this out, XYZ position as well. Or here, this is also another nice message. I'm not going to read through all of this. Feel free to stop the video. But yeah, if you want to join us, if you want to copy trade me, if you want to learn more about crypto, feel free to check it out. It's currently $125 per month. The price has actually been lowered because now the attention on crypto is much lower than it used to be a few months back. Once the masses come back in again, then the price will be back to $165. So if you're signing up today, you will never pay a higher price. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.